Welcome to the daily market outlook. We are about to check the charts and see what the market is offering us today. To start off, let's talk about the DXY. So, with the DXY, starting with the weekly time frame, what we can see is that what we are approaching this high on the higher time frame. As you can see, we are on the weekly time frame. Currently, we can see that price has what sold off from this zone to our left. When we move to the daily time frame, what we can see is that we have what sold off nicely. We are in this zone at the moment, but when we check internal price action of that zone, we can see that what this price action mitigated this low, went to the upside and has taken the low out, but we are still what in that zone. That's the but in the situation. Currently with the DXY, we could see it what move back to the highs because they are of what it is the internal zone that got taken, and we can see what a build up at the size. So maybe we could see what price what move to the upside or take out this high to our left. But so with this direction, what we expect is that what we will see some upward price action on price maybe to these highs, which I showed on the daily time frame. So when we move to the 4-hour time frame, what we can see is that price has mitigated a zone to the left. We've seen a sell off, we've seen a move to the upside. When we jump on the 1 hour, what we can see is that so with this inducement, we've seen it will continue, but it didn't take out the high. We've seen a sell off, we've seen it what approach the highs, build liquidity at the highs, and we've what seen it what sell off again, taking out this liquidity, trapping buyers. So at the moment, what we are expecting is to see price what have a nice move to the upside, give us a nice inducement, and the continuation back to the highs, which is making me have what a bullish direction for the DXY. So when I move to the other pairs like EURUSD, GBPUSD, AUDUSD, I'll be expecting price to what go down lower. But for gold, jumping on to the weekly time frame, what we can see is that price is what heading towards this low at the moment. If we move to the 4-hour time frame, what we can see is that we have what mitigated this zone to the left. We've seen price move to the outside. We induced buyers, so we have to trap them. So once the buyers were induced, we trap these buyers, and we've seen what price move to the upside. So with this price action, what we are expecting to see is what a continuation back to our higher time frame target, which is the weekly target. What we can see is that what price has sold off, taking out the side, we've moved to the highs. We've built liquidity at the lows, and we've moved back to the highs. With the way price is moving, I would like to see it what take out the low as quick as possible, and you can see that's what I'm looking for. So when I head on to the 15 minutes with my idea of seeing what price take out the low as quick as possible, what I'll be looking for is for price to take out the zone, induce buyers. Then from here I can look for what my shots back to our lower time frame target. So this is the idea I have for gold. It is a risky one, but I believe this was going to happen. If not, we could see it what approach this high. So with EURUSD, starting with the weekly time frame, what we can see is that we have what mitigated the zone to our left. It has caused us to sell off and take out this low and cause a break of structure. Right now, if we focus on the lower time frame, if I remove all the drawings, you can see we've taken out this high, and from there we've seen what price respect this to our left. We've moved to the highs, induce some buyers. So let's see what price would give us. At the moment, I can't see that EURUSD is going to what sell back to the lows, like to this low, but I believe we can see what a sell-off back to this low, which would maybe cause an inducement or it will be what the continuation, because I believe we can see it come here and go to the highs, or it could just continue. So our best target is what, this point over here, where I believe is impossible for price what not to come back to. Currently, what we can see is that after taking out that high, we've seen what respect this low. We move to the highs. We induce buyers, then we trapped these buyers, and we moved up again. But with this move up in price action, I'm talking about this price action, we can see that what it is just a straight move to the upside with no what liquidity inside. And people who are trying to what buy at this point, they are targets. So I'm looking forward shorts on Euro USD, also in line with what our direction on the DXY. But with Euro USD, there's an alternative which could also happen. We could see it what move back to this highs, maybe a buy from here back to this highs. So we just have to be what vigilant with price action. But my direction is what for this lows. So with GBPUSD, starting off with the weekly, what we can see is that we've taken out this high, we've seen the sell off, we've seen it what move to the highs whilst respecting the slow induced buys, we've seen the sell off once again taking out this low. From there we've seen the move to the upside and trap some sellers. I believe what it has induced buyers, as you can see what my line and my writing BI buyers what induced. So once I head on to the daily time frame, my eyes are drawn to this liquidity target, which I believe should go so that what our trade idea will be respected. Sorry for that, that's my alert. So I'm expecting what price to what move to the downside, so our trade idea will be respected. At the moment we can see that what we are in rough stages, as the price action that caused the inducement is being tested at the moment. We can see that what we at these highs, it could what buy from here back to the highs, but I'm staying strong with the direction. I believe we could see it what go to the lows, and I believe in this low going so strong. So on the daily, what we can see is that price is what at this point nothing much on GBPUSD. It is clear, but it is not what the best price action to be involved in. We can see that well, we have this liquidity targets, we've mitigated this price action, and we've seen some buyers over here. So what we should expect is what an inducement, then the long position to the highs, and maybe from there what we'll see what the sell off in line with Euro USD, the DXY, and maybe AUDUSD. So AUDUSD on the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, we can see that what we are approaching this low, which is our target. And on the weekly, what we can see on AUDUSD is that we are expecting to see an inducement, and it has what given us this price action which has moved to the highs, taking out what this liquidity high, which can serve as what a break of structure and a chance for us to what sell back to the lows. With this, it's somehow risky because we also have this highs which could possibly go with price action for us to see the inducement. So with AUDUSD, it is what somewhat on the risky side, but I'm expecting to see some downward price action. If not, maybe a little bit of push to the upside. Then we see what the sell off. As you can see on AUDUSD, we are respecting this high, as we know what taking the highest high completely. But we can see that we've seen the sell off from there, and it is what fast approaching that high currently as we speak. Maybe these highs are in the cut, but I'm still bearish on it, so let's see what would happen. On USDCAD, when we hop on the weekly time frame, what we can see is that what we respected this low and seeing price move to the upside. On the daily, we can see that what from that high we've seen this sell off all the way to this internal zone which we have mitigated. So from there we like to see an inducement, then the sell off back to the lows. But when we hop on the lower time frame, on the 4 hour time frame, we have seen an inducement, alright, where price has what mitigated this price action and moved to the highs, causing buyers to be what induced. Then from there we have seen what the sell off. But it is what inside this internal zone, and we can see that we've what built liquidity at this highs. So we just want to be what in line with the DXY also. So it's also a confluence. So I believe with this liquidity at this high, we could see what price move to the upside, probably taking this high before we see what the sell off back to the lows. But anything can happen, and this inducement what would be respected, and we'll see what the continuation taken out to this low. On USDJPY, I'm very bullish on USDJPY at the moment, but I would like to see what a sell off before I see the buys. USDJPY not even heading to the weekly time frames because we are all time high. So jumping right to the 4 hour time frame, we can see that what we moved to the downside, we've trapped these buyers. We've moved all the way to this high, mitigated the zone. We've seen this sell off. From there, we've seen this move to the upside, taking out all the sellers. Then we saw this move with this price action. We've mitigated it, moved to the upside. What this has done is what it has induced buyers and built liquidity. So right now, what I would like to see is what a trap of these buyers to induce sellers. Then we see the what continuation back to the highs. With USDJPY, buying from here is too aggressive, and it's what ignoring this buyers. So for USDJPY, I'm bullish. So that'll be all for today's daily market outlook. Catch you tomorrow.